Good afternoon, everyone. I, Dr. Renu Chaudhary, on behalf of School of Basic and Applied Sciences, GD Goenka University, welcome you to the fourth session of online student development program. Today we have Dr. Neeharika Srivastava with us. She will deliver the talk on crime scene survey, which is a key to successful investigation. Dr. Neeharika Srivastava is an assistant professor and faculty in charge of the Department of Forensic Sciences in the School of Basic and Applied Sciences at GD Goenka University. She is an expert in the area of forensic medicine, forensic botany, and forensic biology. Dr. Neeharika served as an assistant professor at Galgotti's University prior to her current designation. She holds a Ph.D. from the University of Allahabad with a silver medal in MSc Forensic Sciences. Ma'am, we welcome you to the here and Niharika ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
please
Ma'am, am
start
I
the
audible?
session. Yes, ma'am, you are audible. Please start the session. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you for introducing me, ma'am. So I begin with today's session. The topic is crime scene survey, a key to successful investigation. This is the list of contents which we will be having an insight of during today's session. What is a crime scene and what is its importance in solving a crime? What are physical evidences, its types, which plays a very important role for a successful investigation? What are the laws of forensic science, which are basically the backbone of the investigation? How to handle and preserve the crime scene, and what are the protocols which should be followed for crime scene processing, how we can record the crime scene for a longer duration, how we should package and preserve the physical evidences, which will be followed by case study and some fun activities. So I start with the what a crime scene is. You all have heard what a crime scene is, you all know. So if I give a scientific definition of the crime scene, it is the place where finding the possibility of physical evidence is maximum. It is the scene where crime has happened. A crime might be of different types. It may be murder, theft, rape, arson, violence, kidnapping. Different types of crimes are there. Here, the parties, the suspect, the victim, and the crime scene. There occurs the exchange between their content, which we consider as physical evidence. We can classify the crime scene on the basis of location of criminal activity. It can be classified as primary crime scene or secondary crime scene. On the basis of size of area, it can be macroscopic, microscopic. On the basis of type of crime committed, murder, theft, rape, etc. And on the basis of physical location of the crime scene, it might be outdoor or indoor crime scene. We will discuss it in detail shortly. Now we come to what the evidences are. Evidences, as I discussed, it is the at the crime scene. These are the evidences which help in a successful investigation. These evidences are they do belong to victim, suspect, and they help in creating a story of the crime scene. Can prove the crime has been committed. Suppose at a scene, it is the presence of blood spot, fingerprint of some unknown person, some glass fragment, or there is some marks of struggle. This represents that this is the place where something has happened, and it proves that this is the crime scene. Next is can establish the presence of a person at a crime scene. If I have committed a crime, my priority will be to protect myself, and after committing the crime, I will deny that no, I have not committed the crime. But if my fingerprints are present, if my footprints are present, if there are some biological materials from my side through which DNA can be identified, so obviously these evidences are establishing my presence at a crime scene. It can exonerate the innocent. The evidences found at a crime scene is not used only to apprehend the culprit, but it is also used to exonerate the innocent. Sometimes it happens that after the investigation is finished and the investigator do not come up with some reasonable conclusion, but at least it can exonerate on the basis of the physical evidences that these are not the guilty person. So this we can also consider as positive result. Can corroborate the victim's testimony. In many of the cases, it was found that it is not always necessary whatever the victim is telling is absolutely correct. Sometimes it may be deliberately or unknowingly wrong. So physical evidences help in corroborating the evidences or the crime has happened or to the culprit and the victim to the crime scene. These are more reliable than eyewitnesses to the crime scene. Obviously, a person can lie, but the evidences present at the scene cannot lie. So these are the comparatively more reliable than the eyewitnesses. Evidences might be of three types. First is testimonial evidences, then physical evidences, and trace evidences. Testimonial evidences are those evidences which are given by a person who was present at the crime scene, or they have witnessed the crime happening. So they were the eyewitnesses. They can give the oral evidence or written statement to the police or to the court. Next is physical evidences, which we were talking about, that any material which is present at the crime scene can be considered as physical evidence. It might be present at the crime scene, it might be present on the victim, or it might be in the possession of suspect. Hair sample, blood sample, DNA, biological samples, document evidences, all these come under physical evidences. Next is trace evidences. Trace evidences are those evidences which are present in very small quantity, but in measurable quantity. We can use those trace evidences for investigation, like hair, fibers, soil, etc. On the basis of location of criminal activity, we can divide the crime scene in two parts. First is primary crime scene, another one is secondary crime scene. As you can see in the picture, there is a house. It was the house where the crime was committed. A person murdered someone, and later, to disguise the case, what he did, he transported the body in a vehicle. He used his car, and ultimately he thrown the body in some open area or in some field. So here the house, the place where the crime has taken place, this is considered as primary crime scene. Vehicle used for transporting the body and the area where it was thrown, they are the subsequent crime scene or can be considered as secondary crime scene. Each and every crime scene, whether it is primary or secondary, does not matter. They are of equal importance and they should be looked thoroughly for the presence of physical evidences. Next is on the basis of size of crime scene. If we divide it on the basis of size of crime scene, it can be macroscopic and microscopic. Macroscopic is the crime scene which is a big location and it is composed of a number of small microscopic crime scenes. Like in earlier case, it is the house where the crime was committed, but it has a number of microscopic crime scenes. What are microscopic crime scenes? In first picture, there is a pistol which is being shot, and around its nozzle there is decomposition of GSR. GSR is gunshot residue. When a gun is shot or some kind of explosion is there, the ammunition used is known as GSR, gunshot residue. So this particular evidence, this peculiar evidence is considered as microscopic crime scene, which specifically defines a physical evidence. Like in the another pictures, there is a leg wound, there is some blood, and this physical evidence, this represents another microscopic crime scene. Law of forensic science. There are some basic forensic science rules, principles, laws which makes the backbone of the investigation. And any of the investigators should always keep in mind these laws for a successful investigation. The first is law of individuality. Every person, any article, any object is unique. This makes the basis of this law of individuality. Though we look similar from outside, we all have a face, we all have two legs, two hands. Similarly, in case of physical evidences, there is a bit similarity morphologically from their external view. But if I talk of fingerprint, there are basically three patterns: arch, loop, and wall pattern. But considering these basic patterns, we can identify a person, we can establish the identity of a person only using these basic patterns. So there are, each kind of fingerprint is very much peculiar that it cannot be similar with the other one. Similarly, in case of DNA, there are only 4 nucleotides present. We all know adenine, guanine, thymine, cytosine. But DNA, we have DNA as the most powerful tool to establish the identity of a person. So this makes the basis of law of individuality, that every object is unique and it has their own specification. The next law is the exchange principle, which we also known as Edmund-Locard principle of exchange. This principle basically states that a person entering a crime scene or a normal scene or at any place, knowingly, deliberately, unknowingly, that person leaves some traces, or unknowingly may take some of the evidences from the crime scene. So this is the principle of exchange. If I enter a crime scene, I enter a place, unknowingly I must have put my hand over the table, and without my consent, without my knowledge, I have transferred my fingerprint over the table. So this is the exchange principle. Next is law of progressive change. Change is inevitable. As the time passes on, we are growing in size, we are increasing in our age. Similarly, after death, body is decomposing. If there is some fingerprint, there is some tire mark, or there is any kind of mark, with time it will fade away. This is law of progressive change. Suppose a child was kidnapped at the age of 5 and he was recovered after 10 years. So after 10 years, the identification features which were provided by his parents 10 years ago are definitely not of any use, because there are certain changes which has happened in his body. He must be having beard, he must have increased in height, he must have put on some weight. So these are the progressive changes. So while concluding the result or while investigation, the investigator must keep these things in mind. This is law of progressive change. Next is law of probability. Forensic is all about percentage change. As I said in earlier example, that the person must have put on some weight, after 10 years he must have increased in his height. So this makes the basis of law of probability. Next is law of comparison. Only like samples can be compared with the like. What does it states for? Suppose you get a hair sample from a crime scene, which is basically of scalp. So this scalp hair can be compared with the hair of scalp only. It cannot be compared with the hair of other body parts. It cannot be compared with the hair of leg, arm, armpit, or any other hair. It should be compared with the scalp hair only. Next comes the law of analysis. For any successful investigation, for a proper investigation, law of analysis has to be followed. This basically maintains the integrity of the analysis. For chain of custody has to be maintained, proper protocols has to be followed, so that proper analysis of the evidence is done. Crime scene investigation. Crime scene investigation includes basically 3 type of information: defining the crime scene, information obtained from a crime scene, and processing the crime scene. We will discuss each of them one by one. These are what kind of information we can gather from a crime scene. The first is corpus delicti. What is corpus delicti? If we go by the scientific definition of the corpus delicti, it is the body of the offense. But certainly this is not signifies what it means. The body of the offense. Suppose a body was found in water, and the first impression it is providing that the person must have fallen in water since he was not aware of swimming, so he died. But after the post-mortem, after the investigation, it was found that the person was murdered earlier. The cause of death is not drowning. After murdering the person, he was thrown in the water. So there should be some, now there is clue for that the crime has happened, and there is some person, there is some suspect who has committed the crime. So it is to firstly to establish the corpus delicti that some crime has happened. Next is modus operandi. You all must be knowing what modus operandi is. It is a particular pattern of committing a crime or mental behavior or repeated behavior. If I make you understand, giving an example, you read in newspapers or television that this is the fourth consecutive robbery in this area of Delhi or some area, in which the suspected person is using the same way of breaking the door. He is using these tools. If the person uses different area while committing the crime, obviously the number of the chances of getting him apprehended is less. But he is using the same pattern every time. Why? Because he has become comfortable. Now he is acclimatized to the situation that he follows the same pattern again and again. This is called modus operandi. Well, next is linkage of person, places and things that we earlier talked, Locard exchange principle, in which knowingly, unknowingly, person when enters a crime scene or at a place, he leaves some of his traces, and consequently he also take away some of the evidences from the crime scene, which makes the basis for the identification where we get the physical evidences. These physical evidences can link suspect, victim, crime scene. Proving or disproving witnesses' statement can identify intentional lies. If I am trying to give some false explanation, my information is wrong, obviously it can be correlated with the physical evidences. If someone has tried to assaulted me, there should be some evidences, otherwise I am lying. Similarly, can identify unintentional eyewitness mistake. It is not necessary that the person is giving some wrong information, it is intentional. With the passage of time, it is our memory that it fades away. So this might also be the reason that person is giving some wrong statement. So that statement can also be verified with the presence of physical evidences at a crime scene. Identification of a suspect. Since physical evidences are present there, fingerprints, from fingerprint up to DNA, we can find at the crime scene, which can be used for identifying the suspect. There might be presence of illegal drugs or poison-like substances at the crime scene, which can be used to correlate the crime, which type of crime happened, what was the cause and type of crime. Next is processing the crime scene. Right from the first responder or officer reaches the crime scene, there should be some protocol that he should follow. Otherwise, it will result in tampering of the physical evidences, and we can never lead to a successful investigation. The very first duty of the investigator is to assist the victim. Does not matter how much important evidences he is carrying, the primary duty is to provide the medical aid, first aid, and if required, he should send the victim to the hospital. Next, search for and arrest the suspected. Whoever the suspected persons are there, they must be arrested. and detain and separate the witnesses. Those person who were the persons who were present at the crime scene, who has witnessed the crime, they should be separated for their statement. If any changes has been done to this scene in order to the investigation, that should be noted down separately. Otherwise, it will hamper in the results. Next is securing the crime scene. You all know that yellow color tape over which it is written crime scene, do not enter. That is the barricading tape. The whole crime scene should be barricaded with that tape. The whole sole purpose of the barricading crime scene is to prevent the crime scene from contamination. What happens, you must have seen on road that if there is an accident, a number of people gather around the crime scene and everyone is curious to know what has happened. So to avoid this kind of condition, a person knowingly or unknowingly may enter inside the scene and can tamper with the physical evidences, or unknowingly may take the samples, physical evidences from the crime scene. So an officer is assigned. What he does, he prevents the entry of the unwanted person to the crime scene. If any disturbance is already made, that should be kept in note. Next is crime scene survey. Once the crime scene is secured, the investigator and the responder, they go through the crime scene. They prepare an initial reconstruction. What could be the entry point? What could be the exit point? What the possible cause of the scene? How it has happened? They make a primary reconstruction. Next is crime scene documentation. In order to do the analysis which can be used later, we should record the crime scene. Basically, there are three modes to record the crime scene. First is photography or videography. Another one is sketching, and the last one is taking notes. Though the person of these three is to record the crime scene only, but they separately have their own separate significances. If you have done videotaping or photography of a crime scene, so you should leave the sketching. It does not happen. You have to follow all those three to record the crime scene. First, we will talk of photography. A clear photograph should be taken in which all the evidences, their peculiarities must be visible. The picture should be taken with scale or without scale. What here we mean by scaling? The picture can provide the information of the color, of the type, and which evidence was present, but it definitely cannot tell you what is the size of the article present in a picture. So what we do, we take a ruler or a scale along with the physical evidence and take the picture. Now, merely watching the picture, you can tell that this particular evidence is of this particular size. This is the significance of scaling. We also record the crime scene using videotaping. This is the live recording. Whenever later you can see a live crime scene. So it should be also follow. Time, case number, date, location should be mentioned in the videotaping, and wide angle, close angle, from every angle, video recording should be done. This is videography and photography. Next, we move to sketching. In pictures, in movies, you have watched that sketchers come and the person who makes the sketch, they draw the crime scene over a piece of paper. This is sketching. Sketching might be of two types. First is rough sketch, another one is fair sketch. It is not possible always that you can restrict a scene for a longer time. You cannot prevent entry of the general public for a longer time. Suppose it is an open road and there is some accident happened, and you cannot restrict the road for a longer time. So considering these facts, rough sketch is made at the crime scene, but it does not mean that it is rough and it lacks some information. Either it is rough sketch or fair sketch, it should be having each and every kind of information. Every measurement and every physical evidences must be present. In the first picture, you can see this is the rough sketch where all the measurements are given, but only ray diagram is given. It is just drawn with the help of pen or pencil, that this is the outline. So at the crime scene, it is not necessary to draw a neat and clean diagram. Later, when you get time, when the sketches get time, they make the clear, neat, and showing each and every evidence with their measurement, which you can see in picture number 2 and 3, where a clear, neat and clean diagram of the crime scene is given. Since a number of physical evidences are present at a crime scene, so it is not possible that you write about each and every evidence in the sketch only. So we draw it in the form of legends. You can give the numbering A, B, C, D or 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the side of the paper you can mention that A represents blood stain, B is representing knife, whatever. We usually follow two methods for sketching. One is baseline. You can see in the picture baseline method, and the another one is triangulation. In baseline method, whenever a person is drawing a sketch, there are some rules which he should follow. First is, a person who is drawing the sketch should always face the north direction. It is like a fixed measurement. Whenever you go to a cloth shop and ask for that, give me 1 meter cloth. It does not matter in which area of the country you are asking for 1 meter of cloth. He will be giving you exactly 1 meter. That is a standardized parameter. Similarly, the person who is making a sketch, he always faces the north direction. So, for comparison, if any of the investigator later is investigating the case, he will be having the same result. So, the another rule is, we fix two fixed points which are not movable. It might be some tree, some pole, some door or wall which are fixed, which are not going to move. In the picture you can see X and Y. These are the two fixed points. First we talk about baseline method. Any of the evidence present at the crime scene, we draw a perpendicular to the baseline, to the XY. Here the evidence is E, and through E we draw a perpendicular to the baseline XY. Now we have two measurements. One is E to the point where it meets XY. This distance we measure, and the another one is X to the point where it is on baseline. So using these two measurements, we draw it over the paper. A number of physical evidences can be measured using the same way. While in the another one, which is triangulation method, we use angles. E is the evidence, and from point E and Y, the angle made by the E is measured, and later it can be drawn on another sheet of paper. The last one is taking notes. Videography and photography has their own importance. Sketching has their own importance. In case of notes, we note down each and every specification of the physical evidence. You can say that we are doing the same in sketching and photography. Suppose I give you an example, that suppose there is a bunch of notes. It has 500 denomination. In the pictures, you can see that this is the bunch of 500 rupee notes. In videography, it is also showing. But in videography, photography or sketching, you cannot determine what is the number of the notes present. That can be noted down in notes while making the notes. So each and every detail should be noted down. This was about the recording of the crime scene. Next is searching the crime scene. There are few methods through which a crime scene can be looked for evidences. First is step method. You can see there is a start point. The investigator starts moving longitudinally. He takes a turn, then comes in the backward direction. Then again take a turn, then goes in the same direction. Similarly, he covers the whole area of the crime scene, and each segment he looks for the evidences. For open crime scene, outdoor crime scene, this kind of method is preferred. In the another one, this is spiral method. If a crime scene is of circular type, then we can follow this method in which the person starts from where it is written start. He starts from the periphery and moves in the circular motion and ends in the center of the circle. And in the whole way he looks for the evidences. This is called spiral method. Another one is zone method. In zone method, a big rectangle is further subdivided in small rectangles which can be named as zone A, B, C, D, and each zone is further looked for the evidences. Another one is grid method. Grid method is the modification of strip method in which not only longitudinal, the person not only goes longitudinal, but he also follow the same route through horizontal pattern. So there is a number of very small grids and each section of the area can be looked for the evidences twice. So this is very preferable method. Another one is pie or wheel method in which a circle is further divided in various parts and each zone is looked for the evidences. Next is packaging and preservation of the physical evidences. It is quite clear that there are number of samples which cannot be kept for a longer time because with the passes there is degradation in them. For example, biological samples, blood, semen, saliva, they cannot be kept as such for a longer time. And while packaging, collecting and preserving the sample, there are some basic rules that we should follow. We should always wear the disposable latex gloves while collecting and preserving the samples. If we are using the forceps for picking up the sample, it should be every time washed with the alcohol or hydrogen peroxide. They do not destroy. They do not destroy the DNA. And a normal bleach can also be used for the same purpose. Suppose if you have to take the samples which have been dried and you need to dampen the sample, we can simply use water or sterile water or distilled water or saline solution. They all can work. But it is preferable that whenever we are collecting and preserving the sample, it should be in dry form. And firstly, we should dry the sample, after that collect it. If it is not being possible that you allow sample for a longer time at the crime scene so that it can be dried up, better to pack it in a paper packet. It will not hamper the drying process. And if there is some wet matter like blood or some biological samples which can get reacted, always prefer to pack them in glass cover. Every kind of physical evidence should be packed separately, and while collecting and preserving the sample, everyone should use personal protective equipment. It not only prevents you from the hazardous exposure, while it also prevents the transfer of evidences from you. Your DNA sample, your perspiration, your sweat, your fingerprint is also not transferred using this personal protective equipment. Chain of custody. In the whole procedure, we should always follow chain of custody. It is basically integrity of analysis. No hampering has been done with the no tampering has been done with the physical evidences. It is maintained through the proper channels while it reaches to the forensic science laboratory for further investigation. This is considered as chain of custody. Once the sample is reached the laboratory, its analysis should be done and there the crime scene reconstruction can begin. I will give you a brief story of a case study. This case study is referred as one of the trial of the century. As a result of this trial, Federal Kidnapping Act was passed, which is commonly known as Lindbergh Law. In this, what happened in this case? Am I audible? Is there any problem?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible. You may please continue.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. What happened in this case? A 20-month-old child of aviator Charles Lindbergh was abducted from his home on 1st March 1932. An immediate search was done of the premise and found a note in which it was given that the kidnappers had demanded a ransom amount of $50,000. Police was informed and the police started the investigation. On investigating the crime scene, it was found that there was no clear fingerprint, no footprint was there. But at the crime scene, it was found that there were two pieces of wood. That wood was from the ladder which was used to ascend and reach to the window and to abduct the. Later, in this whole proceeding, they received total 12 notes in which they were negotiating for the ransom amount. Initially, they asked for $50,000, then $70,000. Ultimately, in the 13th note, they agreed with the $50,000, and the person who was negotiating from the Landberg's family, he was received that 13th note, and it was given that the kidnappers took the amount, and in the note they mentioned the location where they can find the child. Unfortunately, they went to the location, but there was no child. And 2 months later, on the May 12, 1932, they found dead body of the child, 4 to 5 miles away from their home. His head was completely mashed. There was a hole in his head, and some of the body parts were also removed. On examination, it was found that the child was dead 2 months ago. So a number of investigations were going on. The negotiator from the Lindbergh family, who has seen the person who handed over the note, he told all the description of the person through which a sketch could be drawn. That sketch was found very much similar with the carpenter of a German origin, and his name was Richard Hauptmann. In this investigation, a very important physical evidence was that 2 pieces of ladder which was found at the crime scene. Dr. Arthur Kohler, who was an expert on wood anatomy, he linked the Hauptmann, that person whose sketch was made, to the kidnapping scene. He studied that wood and gave 3 important information. He identified the wood, and he identified the physical marks created by the tool which used to convert the wood in ladder. He identified those marks, and the specifications of the wood, like its annual ring and its species. These kind of information was given by Dr. Arthur Kohler, and he directly correlated it with the person Hauptmann. Later, that person was arrested, and he agreed that he has committed, that he was responsible for the kidnapping. Many famous television crime shows featured this case, reflecting the role of science and botany or plants in crime scene investigation. From then, plants started gaining popularity in crime scene investigation. So I consider this case is one of the important cases where we can understand the role of physical evidences, or how a thorough investigation can lead to successful investigation. If I talk of crime scene investigator in India, many of you must have heard of Dr. Harsh Sharma. Sir is the leading crime scene investigator. Currently, he is director in Forensic Science Laboratory, Bhopal. He has vast experience of 34 years in crime scene investigation and has solved more than 4,000 crimes, including homicide, suicide, accident, rape, explosion, arson. He was awarded the DFS Meritorious Award 2005 by Directorate of Forensic Science, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, for his contribution in crime scene investigation. In this series, while I was finalizing this presentation for the SDP, accidentally I went through a blog where I found Miss Rajni Pandit profile. I found it very encouraging. I thought to include this in my presentation. Miss Rajni Pandit, often considered as Desi Sherlock, she is India's first private lady detective. I found her story very impressive, so I included this. She has won a number of awards. She has featured in many news channels and in different documentaries for her work as detective. She has written two books, Faces Behind Faces and Mayajal. The first received 2 awards, while the later received 6 awards. If I tell you about the story how she became detective, she is the student of literature. She started her career as a private investigator, private detective at the age of 22. She does not hold any degree in forensic science or criminology. It is just her interest and passion which brought her to be an investigator. She was influenced by her father, who was an inspector in the CID, and she was influenced by her father. At the age of 22, when she was in college, she solved her first case. One of her colleagues, once told her that she is facing problem of theft at her home. So she suggested that if she doesn't have any problem, she can proceed with the investigation. After getting the consent, she started her investigation. Her colleague was having a doubt on her daughter-in-law that she was behind the theft. But after her investigation, she came to know it was her younger son who was responsible for the theft. Later, she started gaining popularity and people started coming with their problem, and she started working as private investigator. Slowly, she became Indian Sherlock Holmes, or some of them also consider her Indian Miss Marple. So, if some of you found this whole session interesting, or you are interested in crime thrillers, crime scene investigation, you don't have any need to go through Google or look for the books. I have done homework on your behalf, and I have collected a list of novels or books which are based on crime scene investigation and thriller based novels. In this series, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, which all you know, who has the authorship of Sherlock Holmes, a number of novels are from him. Next is Agatha Christie. More than 80 novels on crime thrillers is written by Agatha Christie. In CSI, Crime Scene Investigation, Max Allen Collins, Double Dealer and Killer Game, again by Max Allen Collins, and Jeff Marriott, The Burning Season, Christopher Grayson, The Girl Who Lived, and Hallie Rubenhold, The Five. These are international authors, and it is believed that Indian mystery are often ignored, but it is not true. Few Indian authors do have written very well. I have selected few of the books: A Rising Man by Abir Mukherjee, A Dead Meat by Ankush Saika, and A Murder on Malabar Hill by Sujata Messi. You can go through these books if you have interest in reading novels or books. If you find crime scene investigation interesting, you should go through them. If I talk of some television show, some of you must have seen Forensic Files, CSI, that is Crime Scene Investigation, Cold Case Files, The First 48, The Killing Fields. And if you watch Indian series, then Karamchand, Special Squad, Tehqiqat, Siddhant, Adalat, Surag, and many more. Let me take you to Let me take you to a tour of G.T. Goenka University, where we transform the face of education. We provide the students with number of scholarships who are really needed ones, and who are deserving candidates. Some of them have benefited, and they get 100% of scholarship. University is awarded with some reputed rankings like IGOS, Forbes, the Times of India, Times Peace School, etc. University also provides the opportunity for students to go abroad with their, as the university has partnership with a number of universities abroad, like Arizona State University, Nottingham University, Lancaster University, and the list is very big. There are total 12 schools at GT Goenka University. Our school is School of Basic and Applied Sciences, where currently 5 departments are being run. Uh, the Dean of School of Basic and Applied Sciences is Professor Ram Krishna Thakur. Uh, Sir has received his degrees from reputed institutions of Italy, Germany, USA. Uh, Recently, Sir was awarded for his contribution in nanotechnology by Shri G. Krishnan Reddy, Minister of State, Home Affairs, Government of India. These are the faculties of Department of Physics. Their research interests are ultra-cold molecules, condensed matter research, computational biophysics, nanosciences, etc. These are the faculties from Department of Chemistry. Their research interests are medicinal chemistry, transitional metal complexes, uh, for wastewater treatment, photosensitizers, and the list is really long. Department of Mathematics, faculties from the Department of Mathematics, and their research area includes numerical methods, linear algebra, differential equation, robotics, etc. Department of Biological Sciences, faculties from Biological Sciences have research interests in diabetes, drug delivery, heavy metal, decompensation, cancer therapy, microbial biofilms, etc. This is Department of Forensic Science, and the research area includes forensic medicine, fingerprint identification, ocean documents, signature identification, forensic ballistics, and many more. The school is also funded with different research projects, and more than 30 Ph.D. scholars are enrolled and pursuing their doctorate. At GT Goenka University School of Basic and Applied Sciences, we have state-of-the-art lab facilities where students are not only restricted to theory, but they get exposure in the laboratory and they perform the experiments. In the School of Basic and Applied Sciences, a number of undergraduate programs are running. I'll name them. Ph.D. Honors in Chemistry, Physics, Mathematics, Forensic Science, Microbiology, Biochemistry, Biotechnology. Apart from them, BSc PARS courses are also running with different combinations of physics, chemistry, mathematics, zoology, computational science, and mathematics. We offer postgraduate and doctorate programs as well in Masters in Chemistry, Physics, Mathematics, Forensic Science, Microbiology, Biochemistry, Biotechnology, MSc in Data Sciences and Scientific Computing, MSc in Geology, Wildlife, Forestry, Biophysics, Environmental Sciences and Management. PhD, full-time and part-time, both PhD is being offered in the subjects like physics, chemistry, maths, microbiology, biochemistry, biotechnology, forensic science, botany, zoology, environmental sciences. We offer diploma courses. Apart from those degree courses, we also offer diploma courses, PG diploma in criminology, PG diploma in cosmetics, PG diploma in data sciences, PG diploma in environment, health and safety. We here follow some best practices considering our students. The first is mentor-mentee relationship. Suppose every student is assigned with a mentor. If a student has some problem, they can consult their mentor. We hope that it is solved at that level. If not, the student or the mentor can consult the HOD of the department. We assume that at this level the problem will be solved, and if not, we can consult the dean, and absolutely the problem will be solved at that level. The next is SIM logging. Students, they can track their attendance record, their marks, their performance, every kind of information. They can log in through their account and they can get the information. Experiential learning. In this series, the department, the school is engaged in organizing different guest lectures, different workshops, conferences, SDPs, FDPs, and in this series, a distinguished lecture by Dr. Kumar Krishnan, who is senior scientist from NASA. and distinguished lecture by Professor P.V. Sharma, who is currently the Vice Chancellor, Amity University, Manesar. The students get opportunity to interact with them. A distinguished lecture by Dr. D.K. Aswal, who is Director, NPL, New Delhi, and expert talk by Professor Ram Kumar, who is Dean, Central University of South Bihar, was invited. Another eminent scientist in this field, Dr. N.B. Bardhan, who is currently Director, CBI, Delhi, was invited in the workshop. Students celebrated the birthday of Charles Darwin. In this series, students often get opportunity to visit different industries, and they visited NPL, IIT, and IUC-like institutions. Students visited AIMS and Anveshna, which is Science and Engineering Fair 2020. In the tough times of COVID, school also participated in National Online Conference 2020, and an international conference on sustainable cities and communities was organized by the school in association with Arizona State University. In school awareness session outreach program, different faculties of the school go to the rural areas and different schools. They recognize their problem and try to solve them. In the month of January, school organized a DST Inspire camp in which more than 150 students participated and interacted with the scientists of their field. And definitely they get benefited. These are the list of placements, trainings and placements where students get their placement like Byju's, Skoogles, Genpact, Wipro, and the list is long. These are few students who got the placement last year. This is our university's website, Facebook homepage and Instagram homepage. You can follow there and get the updated information of the school from those sites. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neeharika ma'am, for such an informative and interesting session. I hope all the
Thank you, ma'am.
participants, which are especially from forensic background, will be benefit from this lecture. Now we have some queries and questions. First question is from Dr. Sunita Negi. She is asking, who does these documentations, police or the forensic team? Although Ms. Ruby Kumari has answered the questions, but you may also want to say something. Who does these documentations, police or the forensic team?
Ma'am, forensic teams gathers the information while the police record all those recordings. They keep doing that.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. The investigation forensic can also do.
Okay, thanks for your comments. But Dr. Neeharika, but in some of the cases, the forensic team doesn't visit the crime scene at all, I guess. Only the police visits. So what happens to such cases?
No, ma'am. Usually it does not happen. It is seen that there is some mishandling of the evidences or the evidences were not collected properly, but they do often visit crime scenes.
Okay, in every such cases.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. I have
cause is
unnatural death. Okay, I have one more question.
Typically, in unnatural death, they visit even. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
So, can you please explain the process of crime scene recreation? I mean, how do they do this, and what is the significance of this?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yeah, sure. I will try giving you an example from forensic ballistics. Ballistics is the study where we study firearms, ammunition, these things. The forensic experts, they have collected the evidences from the crime scene and they take it to the forensic science laboratory. There is one thing which is called determination of range of firing. They take the same revolver, they take the same ammunition, and in the laboratory, in artificial conditions, they do the firing again. And now they measure the range of firing, that this was the distance from where the bullet was shot, and it could be the possible distance that the bullet has traveled. This is called crime scene reconstruction. If the information could not be gathered from the crime scene, they can create the crime scene artificially. This is called reconstruction.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Niharika. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, next question is from Dr. Praveen Kumar. He is asking what is scope of wildlife forensics in terms of job opportunities?
Sir, they can directly apply in the sanctuaries where wildlife is there. If I give you the example of rhinos, continuous poaching, despite different measures taken by the government, poaching cannot be reduced. So the forensic investigation in such cases can be done, and they can directly apply. The only thing, they have to prove their importance. This is the biggest problem with the forensic students, that they have to prove their importance, but they can directly apply.
Yes, yes, ma'am, you are right. And in this way, they can contribute in the biodiversity conservation as well. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir, definitely.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Next question is
Yes, ma'am.
from Akhila. Uh, can a basic forensic science student go for the UPSC? Is it a good decision?
Akila, this is a good decision, but in case of UP, forensic science is not mentioned as a subject, but in different states, forensic science is used as a subject. You can apply
Ma'am,
there.
I think
Though,
he is asking from UPSC.
okay, in UPSC,
Yes,
in
go
UPSC,
for UPSC. Yes.
forensic science laboratories vacancies are there, but to clear UPSC, so far the subject is not there. But in case of different states, you can definitely in different states it is used as a subject.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Next question is from Ph.D. Venkatesh. He is asking if there is a glass plate and had paint on it at crime scene, if the suspect fingerprints were on it, is it possible to identify the fingerprints at what method?
Sorry, I think I should read the question.
Yes, ma'am,
Ma'am,
from
can you
his chat.
please repeat it?
Yes, ma'am. If there is a glass plate and had paint on it at crime scene, if the suspect fingerprints were on it, is it possible to identify the fingerprints at what method?
I think
He
if
is asking
Ruby
if
ma'am
there
is
is a
there.
glass plate and had
Yes,
paint
ma'am, I'm
on it.
here. Uh, yes, ma'am, I'm here. And Mr. Venkatesh, yes, we can definitely identify fingerprints from the paint surface. We have to identify on the glass whether it is a fresh paint or the dried paint. And from there, we can apply either different light sources, or if it is wet paint, the fresh paint which is still being newly painted, you need to photograph it by oblique lighting, and also you can have casting method could be done on that surface. But if it is a dry paint, you can apply certain fluorescent powders are also there. You can apply UV light source also there, and you can definitely find out fingerprints on it, and you can lift it and then identify. Identification is being done in the forensic laboratory, which is done by forensic experts, fingerprint experts. Okay, so from the crime scene, we can only just locate the fingerprint and develop it and lift them and then send it to the labs. Okay, thank you.
He's writing, thank you, ma'am. I think he is satisfied with the answer. He got it.
Okay, thanks, ma'am.
Okay. Next question is from Mr. Ankit Sen. He is asking, with which method, how can we get fingerprint from a burnt or damaged sensor?
Again, I will request Ruby ma'am, since
Surely,
this is her
surely.
area of expertise.
Yes, definitely. So from the burnt surface, it is advised that you can use IR light sources because IR light sources is very much prevalent and very much useful in you may say dark or burnt surfaces. So there we will definitely try to find out fingerprints from these surfaces. Although mostly what happens because fingerprint due to heat, most of the fingerprints might have destroyed, so that consideration you have to keep in mind. Otherwise, you can apply IR light sources to locate your fingerprint.
Thank you so much, Ruby ma'am. There are no questions now. Okay, one more announcement is there. Uh, School of Basic and Applied Sciences is also organizing Eminent Scientist webinar series. In the third session of this series on 21st August 2020 from 11 a.m. onwards, there will be a session on resources from extreme environments from by Professor Hans. He is from Kaohsiung Medical University, Department of Biomedical Science and Environmental Biology, Taiwan. If any one of you interested may join the session by using the Google Meet ID, which you can see in this presentation. You may directly enter into the session. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Neeharika ma'am. Thank you so much, Ruby ma'am. And thank you all the participants for joining the session.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.